push my record button. We to access all this information later on, the meeting is recorded, and also you can visit our YouTube channel. It is tagged LAP Parent Channel. The link is on the screen, and you also can access this same information through the Parent Square message that we sent out just to invite you for this meeting. And give us a couple days, maybe like next week, you can go back to that same invitation, and the entire slides with the presentation will be available for you to view and to refer back to. We want to take this time to celebrate all our Latinx family. It is Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15 up until October 15. We want to say we celebrate you. We love that you are in our midst, and we wish you a happy celebration. So like we said, the agenda is very sweet and short, and we want you to just follow us and listen as we share all this information with you. So this is the LAP department, as we all know, Language Assistance Program of Wayne Township School District. This is us, the team at the district level. We have a curriculum coordinator, Dr. Mo, and our secretary, Ms. Mojica, my humble self, Ms. Cottrell, who is the EL instructional specialist. So before we dive into the discussion tonight, I just want to quickly remind us that the Language Assistance Program is a very important piece of the district. We continue to grow. We grow every day. And in Wayne, we have a growing multilingual population with over 6,000 students, and mostly Hispanic. And I just want you to take a moment to study this data on your screen. It's an interesting data. And I tell you what, it keeps increasing every time. So we're reaching a 5,000 mark for our English learners. So right now we are at 4,715. We have 348 level pending, those that are yet to be determined. In Wayne, we have 92 represented countries. So our top 6 are listed on the screen. We have the United States, we have Nigeria, we have Honduras, we have Haiti, Mexico, and Nicaragua. We also have 78 spoken languages, and our top 6 are listed as well: Spanish, Yoruba, Creole, Haitian Creole, and Tingrea. So overall, we will say the language learners are about 30% of the entire enrollment in Wayne. Isn't that interesting? It is interesting. So you know that you all are an important piece of our district. So we cannot joke with you. And of course, we can't joke with any of our students and families. So without further ado, we're going to dive in. The same information is still being shared on this page, just kind of highlighting our top 6 countries and top 6 languages. Okay, before we go to our updates tonight, before we invite our guest presenter, we want to quickly mention this very important update about iRead. By a show of hand, who knows what iRead means? Like, what is called iRead? Have you heard about it before? Do you have any idea of what iRead means? If you know, just unmute yourself and say, I do. Does anybody know? Okay, fine. It is not a sin not to know. Actually, you are in a good place because knowledge is power. And that's why we want to quickly let you know some very important updates. So iRead, if you have a student in elementary, probably the lower grades, like kindergarten, first, second grade, third grade, you probably might have heard this before, that they're going to be tested, I-read testing. So I-read, and the full interpretation is mentioned on the screen. It says Indiana Reading Evaluation and Determination. That's I-read. So this assessment is a reading assessment that is developed in accordance with state legislation in Indiana, and it's basically designed to measure foundational reading skills based on Indiana academic standard through third grade. So before now, normally we have our third graders, our students in third grade taking I-read, every school year. But starting from this school year, the 2024-2025 school year, all our second grade students will participate in spring testing to obtain an earlier measure of reading proficiency. So we want to start early. Starting from this school year, we'll start to test the second graders. So in order to ensure solid foundation, the students, if peradventure they did not pass, they didn't pass in second grade, they will take the test again in third grade. So, and we want to build a very solid foundation for our students. So if after these two attempts, a student still does not pass the exam, such students will be retained in third grade. So after these two opportunities to test, if they do not pass, then they have to be retained in third grade. However, there are some exceptions. So there's exceptions that are put in place for it's called good cause exemptions. But if you want to know more about such exemptions, you can reach out to your teachers, for eligible students. And please note, this test will take place next spring. So around March, we're going to be doing this test. So if you have any question, you're welcome to either write it on the chat, or you can ask it at the end of this presentation, or you can reach out to your teachers or even myself, and I'll be able to direct you to the right people that can answer your question. If I cannot answer, give you the right answer, then I'll direct you to the appropriate place. This evening, without further ado, let me introduce our guest presenter. She is an attorney, and she was also an immigrant herself. So she used to be an immigrant. She migrated here a long time ago, but today she's an attorney and she owns her own business. Well, I'm proud to introduce attorney Magdalena Josipovic. She is in charge of the law office of Magdalena Josipovic, LLC in Carmel, Indiana. And she's going to be sharing with us tonight updates on immigrations, just important immigration updates. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. And will you be able, Bukola, to share my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, thank you for having me today. And thank you, Bukola, for introducing me. Just a little bit about myself. I actually was a student on the West Side. And when I came to school or immigrated to US, I actually had to learn English. And I was very thankful for opportunity I had. I went to college and law school, and I became an attorney in Indiana in 2008. And I now have my own office. And my area of practice is immigration law, because it has been my calling and the reason why I decided to become a lawyer. So I know it's end of the day, and I'm going to try to be brief and just give some information, like some overview for you. Maybe this is the first time you've heard something like this, or maybe you already know some of these things, but it is obviously immigration is a very vast area of law. It's very complex. There's a lot of areas of immigration law that would not be possible to be covered in a very short meeting. So you can move, and this is my contact information. So if you, after this presentation, maybe have a question or something you would like to discuss, feel free to reach out to me. That is my office number. Bukola, you can move on to the next slide. Just wanted to give a disclaimer. So whatever I'm sharing here is really not intended to be any kind of legal advice. We are immigration, when you talk to an attorney, they really have to talk to an individual because it's very fact specific. So, one thing, it really depends who the person is, and attorney would have to understand their history and also more about them to be able to give them any kind of legal advice. So next slide, thank you. Thank you. So just as an overview, immigration law is a federal law. And as I said, it is a complex area of law. So anytime you do have an immigration question, you should consult with an attorney who practices in this area of law, who could give you a legal advice and who is authorized to do that. Immigration law, I'm listing some of the agencies that we typically encounter or see in our daily lives. So we have U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. They are an agency that oversees applications and processing of any kind of applications for benefits. So let's say somebody that might be petitioning for relatives, somebody that might be applying for citizenship, somebody that may be applying for affirmative asylum, somebody that might be petitioning for their spouse or their child, if they're a U.S. citizen or have a green card. So they oversee any kind of applications that pertain to immigration. Then we also have Executive Office of Immigration Review. That is a separate agency, for lack of a better word, and that is where all the immigration judges are housed. So if somebody has to go to court because they're in removal proceedings, that is an agency that would address their case and anything that they would have to file as a form of a relief. We also hear, of U.S. Immigration and Customs Border Patrol, or short ICE. That is an agency that works with overseeing U.S. border and also enforcing the laws of making sure that people are authorized to come in. So those are the agencies that usually would refer a case to immigration court if they encounter somebody that has no documents or has no legal status, for lack. I just wanted to mention this. I know sometimes people don't always know this, but it's probably also well known. So non-citizens must change their address with USCIS within 10 days of moving, especially if let's say, for example, you have an application pending and you, for example, have changed your address with the Postal Service, but you never really updated your address with immigration. So if something's pending, they will not forward your mail to your new address. So you have to change your address with USCIS. And that is also a requirement that if you do move and you're a non-citizen, then you would have to update your address. Now, if you are before the court, that is also something that you have to update. And I believe for them, it's 5 days of moving because the court will need to send you notices. And if they don't have your correct address, then you will not get those notices and you will not get notifications of your hearings and etc. So it's very important. And all of this information, it's available online. They can be found, or if you're working with an attorney, they will instruct you how to do that. Next slide, Bukola. Thank you. This is just a little overview of some of the, I guess not the only, but few of the ways that individuals could, often people will ask, so how can I petition for somebody to receive a green card? Or they will say, I'm a US citizen and I have a relative, can I petition for them? Or I have a green card and could I petition for my relative? So immigration, so here I have listed like a family-based petitions is what we call those when somebody is applying for a family member. So immigration defines who qualifying relatives are that could benefit from their family member petitioning for them, and only US citizens, and in some cases a green card holder could petition for their relative, but who can actually, for who they can actually apply, it's defined by law. So we have something called immediate relatives. Those are spouses of US citizens, unmarried children under the age of 21 and unmarried, and also parents of US citizens who is at least 21 years old. So immediate relatives, what is nice about immediate relatives is that they don't have a cap on how many visas can be issued a year. And so that is a nice thing, or something that makes them distinct from the preference category, that they don't have to wait for visa to become available like other individuals would have to wait in line. And so what I'm discussing here is just a petition. I'm not actually discussing a green card application, but actual petition to start the process. And then you don't have to wait in line for the visa to become available so that you could proceed to the next step, which is ultimate goal is a green card. Preference category is different, because for preference categories, you have to wait for visa to become available, and they are defined by different categories. So for example, preference categories would be like if you're a US citizen, it would be your unmarried son or daughter who are 21 years or older, or married son or daughter of US citizen, also brother or sister of US citizen who is at least 21 years old. So as you can see, it's very specific. And then for somebody has a green card, they can only petition for their spouse, unmarried child under age of 21, and unmarried son or daughter who is perhaps 21 years or older. So and based on that, they kind of go in a different category and they have to wait in line. So it tends to get complicated. So you do definitely need somebody that can guide you through that, as if you're trying to understand if you may be eligible and if you could petition for somebody, and like what the process takes, or how it works. We also have employment-based petitions. Those are based on employment. And then I'm just mentioning here as well the humanitarian petitions. So most people have heard of TPS or asylum, the refugee, VAWA, U visa, T visa. And I'll share a little bit about them as we move on to the next slide.
Okay. Anthony, I don't know. I know we are able to ask questions at the end, but is it okay to just pop up this question as you go along?
Sure.
Okay. And I don't know if this will fall into the category of general question. I was wondering the difference between all these visas, or petitions, TPS, asylum, refugee, VAWA, and whatnot. Again, I
Yes.
don't know if it falls within the scope of the general question that you can answer, or we have to,
So, for example, not every humanitarian petition will lead to, for example, the TPS here would not lead to a green card. If somebody receives asylum, then they could, after a year of physical presence, apply for a green card. So the refugee, and if you have VAWA or U visa or T visa, after so many years, you could apply for a green card. TPS is not, so actually I listed it there as a humanitarian petition, but it's actually not something that leads to a green card. It's just a temporary status. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, so there are like different ways or different avenues how somebody could obtain a status. So like family petitions or something that like if you think of an individual,
Mhm.
like you have a family member who is a US citizen and who, or somebody who is a green card holder, and they would at some point maybe need to petition for their relative, but they don't really know who can they petition for. So it's very specific and it's defined by law as to who is eligible relative. And then also it's based on if they fall in an immediate category or they fall in a preference category. And if they're in immediate category, there's no visa cap, but for preference category, there's a cap as to how many visas government can issue every year. So then people have to wait in line based on their category and based when they file their application, on when the application was filed for them.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Sorry. So I mentioned DPS because I know it's something that we've seen perhaps in the news or have heard from through immigration. So TPS is a temporary benefit and it does not lead to a green card status or does not give you any kind of immigration status. It is something that Secretary of Homeland Security may designate a foreign country because there's some perhaps like an armed conflict, like civil war, there's some kind of environmental disaster or some or other circumstances. And then they would designate a country that and that changes. So like on the next slide, I believe I have the list of the countries that currently have been designated by the Secretary of Homeland Security as the ones that potentially an individual who may be from there, depending on their circumstances, again, could potentially apply for. So you can move on to the next slide. I believe I have the next slide, the countries currently that are the ones that are the only countries that have been designated at this time. So this does change and depends on what's going on in the world. But as you can see here, there are a number of countries, and each of these countries has their own specific requirements as to whether they're accepting initial registration, if it's only a renewal, or something that they would have to re-register. It also tells when they had to be here. So it's like a list of eligibility as to how it works. So it's not the same for every country. So if you can move on to the next slide. I hope everybody can see the slides. So if you, let's say a person applies and then they are found to be eligible, they would be essentially protected from detention because now they don't have because they don't have a status. So they're not removable from the United States while they have this status. They can also apply for employment authorization and may be able to be granted, travel authorization. So it is temporary, and it's, you have to kind of stay, be aware of when it's expiring and what are the next steps. But it, like I said, it does not lead to a green card on its own. There's no avenue for you to change from TPS to a green card. So it would have to be something else. You can move to the next slide. Thank you for helping me with the slides.
That's right. I have another question. So what you're saying now is that if you hold a TPS visa and you're wanting to move to another status, so you have to you have to be
There has
totally
to be
off
something
TPS.
else. Yes, there has to be something else that you also have applied. So TPS is, like I said, it's just a status. It's a temporary status.
Okay.
And US, they decided for these individuals from certain countries could remain here for a limited time. So that's why it has temporary. So it's not something that is that leads to a green card on its own. So at this time, there's nothing that that leads that way. So you would have to have something else. Let's say, for example, maybe you have also asked for asylum and you are granted asylum. Well, the asylum would lead to a green card. or perhaps maybe you have a relative or something like that that you are somebody has applied for you. So the TPS doesn't, that's, I guess that's what I meant. So hopefully that
All right.
makes sense.
Thank you.
So I'll just mention a little bit about asylum applications. I know that probably most of you have heard about asylum. Asylum is also a humanitarian form of relief. So it's very technical, and one, as with any kind of immigration, one really should find an attorney to guide them and help them with their legal needs, because attorneys are qualified to do that, especially if that's their area of practice. So for asylum, the person would have to be unable or unwilling to return to their home country and cannot obtain protection in that country due to past persecution or a well-founded fear of future persecution on account of their race, religion, nationality, membership in particular social group, or political opinion. So as you can see, even the definition of what refugee is very technical. And so then it's based on lots of laws and case law, and it is something that is not just filling up the form and submitting it. So asylum applications are, they could be affirmative. Affirmative would mean like for individuals that are not in any kind of removal proceedings, meaning the government is not actively trying to remove them from a country and has sent them to the court. So those are individuals that have no pending court case. Defensive asylum applications are the ones that are filed with the court. So that's why we call them defensive, because you are seeking asylum as a way of defending or asking to stay. Asylum applications have to be filed within a year of last arrival. So there's a strict deadline to file those, unless there's, you might follow, if there's some exception, but the 1 year is the deadline to file an asylum from the time within the last arrival. So within the time that you have arrived, for that to, it is a deadline. So one has to observe that. And so as I said, it has to be filed within a year of your arrival. I'm trying to see here if I miss something here. So if, let's say, for instance, you're successful with your asylum application, then you will be granted an asylum. And then after a year of being able to show physical presence, and you can seek the green card, or we call it green card, but it's a lawful permanent resident status. So we can move on to the next slide. This is just something I wanted to mention. So I didn't want to overwhelm you with like lots of kind of like updates that are, some of them are very technical and would not make a lot of sense for, depending on what it is. But I thought this one was something that, most people could relate. For example, if they've had, if they have a green card and they are renewing their green card. So immigration will at some point, like they will provide some updates or alerts on their website, like the US Citizenship and Immigration Services. So this one, for example, was issued and it's effective September 10th. And it says that USCIS, it's automatically extending the validity of green card to 36 months for lawful permanent residents who properly filed for I-190 application to replace permanent resident card. So this kind of information would be beneficial to somebody that is is trying to renew their card, or has filed to renew their card, and now it's waiting for that application to be decided, but their card is expired. So then they would have this notice that says that their card is automatically extended, that government would issue to them once they've properly filed their application. I also wanted just to briefly mention another, there's something called VAVA. Those are some humanitarian remedies, also U visa. That's a special non-immigrant visa for victims of crime. There's also something called T visa. So I think at this time, I really don't have anything else to discuss. I think we could talk for a very long time about all of those, but this is just a little bit of information, and I'm thankful to be here, and I hope everybody has a good evening. And if you have a question that is just a general, I don't want to put anybody in a situation where they're putting personal fact cases about themselves to be recorded. But if it's something general, then perhaps if we have time, I could answer, or you can just reach out to me, which is always the best, because you do want to discuss your thing confidentially. So, and I think my contact is on the next page as well, if anybody needs to write it down. I think on the
Yeah.
next slide, there's my telephone number and my email. And if you Google me, you can also find me. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney Magdalena. Thank you so for those very, very important information. And like she mentioned, details, I already put it in the chat box as well. So if you want to discuss some personal things, and like she mentioned, you don't want to discuss your personal stuff in public. So if you have more questions that you know it's beyond general, that you want to discuss more privately, please feel free to contact her later on, and you'll be able to find the answers to those.
Yes, and
Again,
I just want to say, I'm sorry, as one, it's again, legal immigration is not, I always try to remind people, it's not just filling up the form, it's very much about understanding what the law is. And if you are in a position where you need to consult with somebody, please do look for somebody who is authorized to practice law as an attorney. Thank you.
it's very important. Thank you so much. So I know sometimes so many information just fly around, in space, or some people will think, oh, I can do it myself. Yeah, but we're hearing from the professional point of view that it's better so to avoid some unnecessary mistakes or things that can make your case or complicated. You just want to contact an attorney and get the help that you need. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you again. So this is just one of our, okay, so somebody is asking a question, meeting for only immigration? No. So every month that we have this meeting, especially if you are just joining us for the first time, we hold this meeting every month, sometimes virtual and sometimes in person. We alternate the meeting. But the most important thing is that we bring different professionals to come, speak to us, to give us updates, to share resources, information that will be beneficial to our families, So today we just want to share immigration updates for some of us, that information might be useful to. And we are very grateful for all the information the attorney has shared with us. Thank you again, and we continue with our meeting. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So we would like for you to take note of these important dates that are upcoming. The first one is next week. So next week, the week of October 7th through 11th, it will be our parent-teacher conferences. So by now, I believe most of us, if not everyone, should have received an information, a message from your child's school, and schedule a time to be able to meet with the teacher. I want to appreciate some of our staff that are here tonight joining us in this meeting. This is a time for your teacher, to meet with your children's teacher or your child's teacher and be able to discuss pertinent information about the progress of this student. You want to know, you want to be in the know. I always say something in this meeting. I say knowledge is power. If you know something, then you will be able to know the necessary step to stop something or to make an improvement or to even expand. It all depends on the situation. So it is very important that we are in the know when it comes to our children's education. So please make it a time if you have not received that information. Tomorrow is Friday. Please reach out to your school, reach out to the teacher, and ask questions. It is always good to ask questions. When you keep quiet, we don't know, we're not sure what's going on in your mind, and we are not able to bring them out. But when you speak it out, when you ask questions, no, there's no dumb question. Just ask. And if it's not the right one, you'll be ready. Oh, this, and then you'll be educated on how. So please make sure you reach out to your school. The following week, which will be the week of October 14, and for the next 2 weeks, after next week, the next 2 weeks will be our fall break. So there will be no school. And that will be from October 14 up until Friday, October 25th. So students will resume back on Monday, October 27th. And November 5, it will be our staff development day, professional day for all staff. There will be no school as well. No students will be in school. Please take note of those dates. And this brings me to the point of getting acquainted with our website. So um, I'm going to share the next link. It is very important for you to go and check the website, especially the calendar. If you are very used to the calendar, the school calendar, you will know the times for the kids to be out. All of those information are listed on the calendar, the school calendar, and you will be able to see. Um, Actually, let me just go there. So this is the Wayne Township calendar. Oh, the website, I'm sorry. This is the website. And if you go under this icon, it says parents and students. So you navigate to the calendar. And if you click on the calendar, it will show you the year's calendar, school year's calendar. This is 2024, 2025. And if you even scroll more, it will tell you the next school year. Can you imagine? So everything, all the information you need to know when the school is closing, the winter recess, the beginning of first grading period, all those information are listed on that calendar. So it is very important we go there. Um, the events calendar for our meetings, they are listed here. At your convenience, you can click on that link to see them. So this is another update we would like for everyone to know. So by Monday, October 28th, all students are strongly encouraged to have their shots, their vaccinations up to date. So we're giving this notice ahead of time because if a child is not up to date and there's no proof or any schedule with the doctor for the shot, this children or this child might be sent home. The reason being that the season is changing. The weather is changing very soon. It will be getting colder. We have so many germs, going all around. We don't want anyone to be sick. And even if peradventure anyone gets sick, we do not want anyone to get another child sick. So it is better we try to get updated on the shots, on the vaccination of those kids. And we have put some resources together, immunization resources. We have some names, the location, the days of operation, the time, and the contact details. So we have listed some of them here, both in English and in Spanish. Please feel free to access this information, especially as we go for fall break. Use that time to catch up with all those shots for your own good. And like we normally do, we have all our community resources right here. So as we go into for fall break, this is Wayne Branch Library has a calendar. We have the October calendar put together, and there are so many fun activities for families to enjoy during the fall break. You can see their family story time, their Asian Creole conversation circle, their children's craft, little Olympians, all those things. So you can always find something that you will enjoy during the break for you and your family. The Giant Market Food Pantry, the one for October was October 1st. So we look forward to next month. Well, please make use of these resources, make use of them. It's for your own good. If you need food, this is organized by Wayne Township. These are school districts, and it takes place at the ninth grade center. Um, so there's this one thing that we also want to share, the SNAP screener. Sometimes you're not even sure if you are eligible for SNAP. You don't know how to go about it. So this again is called the SNAP screener. So here is how you can, you can just fill this form online, and then someone will contact you at the end after you submit the form. You can see. So this, if you are able to fill this form and you are eligible, it might even help you to get eligibility for other programs, especially when they have your information. Um, so please go ahead. And we also want to reiterate this information that don't, because of social security number, oh, I don't have social security, I'm not going to tell anyone my concern, I'm not going to talk. Please, you may be doing yourself some disservice by not speaking out. So make sure if your social security is asked, you skip that line. And even some of these forms they don't even need for you to put in your social security number. So please avail yourself with all this information. And like I said, it's a short and sweet meeting this time around. These are the things that we have to share, and you know that you can always go back later on to check on all these resources we have shared. All these resources are good. We have mental health resources. We have virtual tutoring. In the earlier session at the 12:30, I had a parent was asking about after school program. That is based on school by school basis, but we know our middle school and high school students sometimes may need an extra help. So IU Indianapolis offer virtual tutoring and mentoring. This is a resource that if you have children in that age range that might want to help you, and you can, take advantage of all this, and they are free. You don't have to pay a dime. So we have all these resources for you all to make use of if you want them. Are there any questions at this time? Do we have any questions? This is the time to ask questions if you have one. All right. If there are no questions, okay, somebody says. Okay, I'll do that. The tutoring link, I'm putting it in the chat right now. Yes. So I put the tutoring link in the chat. And if there is any one of these resources that you need more information about, please feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to share them with you. We want to say thank you again to everyone that has taken off time to join us, both in the earlier session and this other session. We are always very proud to have you around every time. We want to say thank you, and we want to especially thank everyone that joined us for our LAP Family Night last month, the month of September, September 5th. It was a swell time. We have community partners from different places around Indianapolis join, to share out resources, free stuff, and vaccination. And it was just fun. So we want to say thank you for always coming out whenever we call on you, and for always, just participating in all these events. We hope you have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your day. We don't have any questions. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Attorney Magdalena. We appreciate you coming.